What is worse than buying an apartment in an unfinished building? That is, living in toxic buildings. Homeowners in Suzhou's Jinxiu Lanshan community are on the brink of despair. A lawsuit over the billion-yuan toxic land in Suzhou has revealed that the soil where their homes were built is contaminated with carcinogenic substances exceeding safe limits by 50 times. This essentially makes their buildings toxic. Not only are their homes now uninhabitable, but they also fear for their health after having unknowingly lived in such conditions for years, possibly accumulating toxins in their bodies and increasing their risk of cancer. Those who bought homes but haven't moved in yet face significant financial losses due to either unfinished construction or plummeting property values. 3 years ago, they bought these properties at 35,000 yuan, $4,812 per square meter. Last month, amid a slump in the real estate market, this price had already fallen to 25,000 yuan. Now, following the revelation of the toxic land, some secondary market prices have dropped to as low as 5,000 yuan per square meter, an 86% decrease, and buyers are nowhere to be found. However, as the real victims of the toxic land incident, homeowners have suffered huge losses and have nowhere to turn for complaints.
We can't find the developer, the property management is unreachable, and the sales office has disappeared. We can only wait here helplessly. We can't live in our homes and we have to rent elsewhere while still paying a monthly mortgage of over 10,000 yuan. We don't dare to expect too much. We just hope we can get at least a refund for our homes.
The Jinxiu Lanshan residential complex was developed and constructed by Suzhou Luan Real Estate Development Corporation Limited, a subsidiary of the large state-owned enterprise Shanghai Lujiazui Group. On November 11th, many homeowners gathered at the company's office demanding a refund for their homes. The public outcry originated from an announcement released on November 4th by the publicly listed company Lujiazui Group, which revealed that 14 out of 17 plots purchased by its subsidiary Suzhou Luan Real Estate Development Corporation Limited in 2016 were found to have soil contamination. Consequently, the group sued 5 entities, including the land seller Jiangsu Sugang Group Corporation Limited, the testing agencies Suzhou Environmental Science Research Institute and Suzhou Sicheng Environmental Technology Corporation Limited, as well as the Local Development Zone Management Committee, and demanded over 10 billion yuan in compensation from the Sugang Group. According to the announcement by Lujiazui Group, tests conducted by third-party inspection agencies showed severe contamination of the soil at multiple sites of the Suzhou Luan project, with benzopyrene and naphthalene exceeding safety standards by more than 50 times. Benzopyrene, classified as a Group 1 carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer (IARC) of the World Health Organization, can cause various cancers, including lung, stomach, bladder, and gastrointestinal cancers through inhalation, ingestion, or skin absorption. Chinese media reported that on October 17, 2016, after 22 rounds of bidding, Lujiazui Group acquired 95% of the equity of Suzhou Luan at a price of approximately 8.5 billion yuan, more than double the asking price. This acquisition gave Lujiazui Group the rights to 17 pieces of state-owned land held by Suzhou Luan, originally a subsidiary of the Sugang Group created to sell the land. The land, formerly an old factory area of Sugang Group, was heavily polluted. Insiders revealed that the actual purchase price paid by Lujiazui was not as high as reported. Subsequently, Lujiazui Group developed the Suzhou Luan project, which included residential buildings, shopping malls, office buildings, and schools at a cost exceeding 10 billion yuan. Currently, the toxic land incident has resulted in the suspension of sales for 2,800 residential units and the whole regional project becoming a ghost town. On the afternoon of November 9th, news reporters from mainland China visited the site of the controversial project and found that several residential buildings had been constructed in the area, but only a few were occupied, with the majority remaining vacant. Some entrances were marked with prominent red warning signs stating, "This plot contains pollution risks. Unauthorized entry is strictly prohibited." The Suzhou Green Coast project, once hailed as the first million-square-meter urban comprehensive complex, now appears overgrown with weeds and desolate. A video shot by a homeowner living near the Jinxiu Lanshan community reveals that there is an asphalt-like smell when the wind blows and the water in the area is black. The toxic soil incident first came to light through the British Reading School, which was introduced to the Green Coast project. This is a typical case of a major event triggered by so-called foreign forces. The Green Coast project was initially positioned as high-end, with prices higher than surrounding communities. One of the main reasons for this was the introduction of the British Reading School, which has a century-long history of education. As the first reading school in China, the project attracted significant attention from construction to student enrollment. A local homeowner recalls that before the toxic soil incident broke in 2021, the Suzhou Reading School had already officially started enrollment, and teachers were in place. However, in June 2021, as the school was about to open and in the process of obtaining its operating license, the Suzhou High-Tech Zone Environmental Protection Bureau required an investigation into soil pollution on the school's site. Plot number 2, revealing contamination. Shanghai Lujiazui Company had previously conducted a preliminary investigation by a third party, finding severe pollution on the same plot. Subsequent investigation by a government-recommended third party confirmed the severe pollution. As a result, the Suzhou Reading School project was temporarily suspended, and enrolled students had to be relocated to other schools. Reading School requested to return the land and cease operations, but the Suzhou Development Zone Management Committee, citing that the school was not built, withheld the 1 million yuan deposit previously paid by Reading. Left with no choice, Reading School publicized the pollution issue. Insiders revealed that upon discovering the toxicity of the school's plot, an examination of the original maps of the Suzhou Green Coast project showed that all 17 plots were previously part of the area Jiangsu Sugang Group used for steel coking and other industrial activities. Unable to conceal the issue, the local Environmental Protection Bureau reported that 14 out of 17 plots were contaminated. The British Reading School's revelation led to a large-scale investigation of the toxic soil, causing widespread concern among the public. Weibo user Sven Shi commented, "What if this land, instead of being reported by an unrelated third party during school construction, had been developed by Lu Jiazui and sold to the public? What would those people who spent their life savings on these houses do then?" Another Weibo user, Jinxiu Technology Finance, said, "Had it not been for the testing by the British Reading School, many homeowners might have already moved into this toxic land and suffered its effects for a long time. Since 2016, the construction workers on this toxic land have been exposed to these excessive toxins for years, and it's unknown if they have developed cancer or if they can seek justice." A netizen commented, "This is the first time I've heard of toxic land. Previously, I only knew about unfinished buildings, and now there are toxic buildings?" According to the China Real Estate News, in the initial land sale documents by Jiangsu Sugang Group, the pollution status of the land was disclosed. It was indicated that the pollution in the coking area was mainly concentrated in a part of plot number 4. Based on the remediation target values, it was determined that within a depth of up to 18 meters, the polluted area covered 17,542 square meters, with a volume of 39,604 cubic meters of contaminated soil. The soil and groundwater in non-coking areas were largely unaffected and suitable for redevelopment. After the equity transaction, Suzhou Green Coast conducted remediation and restoration of the pollution range disclosed by Jiangsu Sugang Group. Consequently, just past midnight on November 10th, Jiangsu Sugang Group publicly responded to the toxic land incident for the first time, providing explanations on 4 aspects: disclosure and transaction situation, plot testing situation, the status of plot number 2, and construction operations. The response mentioned that at the time of the equity transfer in 2016, the company had truthfully disclosed the investigation results and the full report on partial pollution of the land under Suzhou Green Coast, clearly warning of potential soil pollution risks in some plots previously used for steel coking production. The response suggested that Suzhou Sugang was aware that during the development and construction of the Suzhou Green Coast plots, groundwater was disturbed, transporting soil caused cross-environment pollution, and non-standard construction operations led to secondary pollution. The company implied that they had informed about the pollution issues, but the construction proceeded without proper procedures and measures, leading to secondary pollution. This was especially significant as the real estate market was booming at the time, and now, as the housing market has cooled, Lu Jiazui is biting back. An industry insider commented, "You might think that Jiangsu Sugang Group and the testing institutions deceived Lu Jiazui, but in reality, they together deceived us." In such large transactions involving tens of billions, the intelligence of any party involved in the transaction far exceeds that of us ordinary people. Who doesn't know whether the land is polluted or not? It can be said that if the real estate market were still booming and land could be easily bought and developed profitably, there would be no dispute between Lu Jiazui and Jiangsu Sugang. The complex case involving the sale and purchase of land reveals that both the selling and buying parties are complicit in concealing issues. In an industry where gross misconduct, such as fabricating project progress and misappropriating pre-sale funds from bank supervision accounts, is common, the falsification of soil testing seems trivial. Both parties maintained silence. When regulatory compliance was required, they would simply manipulate the data to comply. After all, if the project was profitable, no one wanted to create additional problems. Jiangsu Sugang Group's counterattack indicates that neither party intended to disclose the truth from the beginning. They hoped to deceive everyone, and now that the deception is uncovered, they are biting back at each other to mitigate losses. The crux of this billion-yuan case lies in the aftermath of the land purchase. The downturn in the real estate market led to unsold properties and unrecoverable investments. Consequently, the buyer felt shortchanged and tracked down every violation during the land transfer process to return the property and claim compensation. An additional layer to the story was revealed by a lady.
So what's another interesting twist in the story? This land was sold in 2016, the Reading School was built by 2019, and the incident happened in 2020, but it only came to light in 2023. We often say that gods fight their battles in the heavens, so how did we mortals find out about this? When Lu Jiazui Group bought the land, a significant portion of the funds came from their trust fund, which was sold in 2016 with a 7-year maturity. It's due for payment this year, but Lu Jiazui is broke and can't pay up, so they're trying to shift the blame. It's not that they don't want to pay, they're saying, let us win the lawsuit and get the money back from Suzhou Steel Group, then we'll pay you. I can't even imagine how this will unfold.
However, insiders reveal that the complexity behind this toxic soil incident exceeds imagination. It also exposes the local government's practice of turning polluted land into treasure. In reality, these revelations are just the tip of the iceberg in China's land pollution cases. The Green Coast Project land was previously an old factory area of Jiangsu Sugang Group, with several plots officially confirmed as polluted. Such contaminated areas, which should only be used for industrial construction, were repeatedly repurposed by local government agencies. In December 2008, the Suzhou Municipal Bureau of Land Resources conducted a land auction and transfer to Suzhou Steel Group, after reclassifying a portion of the non-coking area of the old factory site of Suzhou Steel Group for residential, commercial, and business finance purposes. Between 2013 and 2014, departments in Suzhou City approved another adjustment to the land use plan. Part of the original plot was designated for municipal roads and public facilities, incorporating a large area of the former coking site. The adjusted Green Shore plot was redivided into 17 subplots, with land use changed to residential, commercial office, industrial research and development, and educational purposes. Lu Jiazui Group, in its previous announcements, mentioned that the area and degree of land contamination far exceeded what Sugang Group disclosed at the time of listing. Additionally, in the process of land use adjustment and transfer, the defendant engaged in illegal and fraudulent activities. Therefore, from the above information, it appears to be a case of official deception of the public by two major state-owned enterprises, Sugang Group and Lu Jiazui Group. Some have summarized two particularly alarming what-ifs in this matter. 1. If Lu Jiazui was not a listed company required to disclose significant litigation, the incident might never have become known to the national public. 2. If the toxic plot had not been sold to the British Reading International School but to a local school, it's likely that this toxic land would not have been exposed. The final outcome of this public versus public event could have been quietly settled in a high-end club in Shanghai or Suzhou. Now that the toxic land has been exposed, the subsequent houses can't be sold, leading to billions in losses. The investors were thus forced to break the tacit agreement in an attempt to recoup costs and cover losses. In essence, this reflects the subsequent impact of the collapse of real estate and land finance. When the trough is empty, the pigs turn on each other. Regardless of who wins or loses, the most tragic victims are the construction workers and home buyers. Construction workers since 2017 have labored on toxic land, unaware and unprotected. They are the most innocent, yet bear the greatest risks. Homeowners who purchased properties on a contaminated site in Suzhou, China have found themselves in a dire situation, likened to living on a ticking time bomb. This predicament is considered even worse than buying unfinished properties, which, although financially damaging, do not pose a direct threat to life. However, the massive 10 billion yuan claim for damages seems to bear no relevance to these unfortunate individuals. A male commentator summarized the situation succinctly in a video. Buying a property on this toxic land is worse than buying an unfinished building. With an unfinished building, you just lose the house, but with these properties in Suzhou, you could not lose just the house, but potentially your life. Initially, it seemed like Su Steel Group had duped Lu Jiazui, but it turns out both knew what was going on. They colluded to cheat the common people, who are now stuck with these problems. With the real estate market down and the discovery of land pollution and carcinogens at an international school, the issue has escalated to an international level. Lu Jiazui finally admitted the land pollution and is seeking billions in compensation from Su Steel Group. Essentially, it's a dog-eat-dog farce. Neither side is good. One sold toxic land cheaply and the other greedily bought it, thinking they'd make a killing once the houses were built. It seemed like a win-win, but who knew? Man plans and God laughs. Now, with the real estate downturn and the exposure of the pollution, they're at each other's throats. I believe this is just the beginning, with many more issues to be resolved. First, what should the residents who bought these houses do? Stay or move? Second, who is responsible for the health of those who've already moved in? And third, what about the health of the construction workers who worked on the site over the years? This incident in Suzhou is just one of many land pollution cases that have come to light in Jiangsu province. In December 2015, a shocking toxic land incident was reported at the Changzhou Foreign Languages School. Parents noticed a pungent odor near the school's new site, and soon after, students began showing adverse health reactions. Health examinations of the students revealed 262 cases of thyroid nodules, 194 of lymph node enlargement or nodules, and 90 of other blood abnormalities, with some students diagnosed with lymphoma. Despite this, the Changzhou municipal government claimed that the soil and groundwater at the school site were not contaminated. In July of the previous year, environmentalists revealed that over 100 chemical plants were being demolished in the Lianyuangang Chemical Industry Park in Guannan County, Lianyuangang City, Jiangsu. Some plants, for convenience, began demolition without fully clearing the pollutants, resulting in various chemical contaminants being buried under the rubble, creating more toxic land. In regions beyond Jiangsu, including Tianjin and Shandong, governments have been repeatedly exposed for transforming lands polluted by chemical and pesticide factories into commercial and residential construction sites, following the alteration of environmental assessment data. The Chinese Communist Party's Ministry of Environmental Protection conducted a nationwide soil environment survey in 2014, revealing that 16% of the country's soil exceeded pollution standards. Confronted with such severe soil pollution, the primary approach of the Chinese government has been one of concealment and deception. This has led to online comments such as, "The Communist Party, which never truly considers the well-being of the Chinese people, treats them merely as expendable resources."